back. So what we're saying that we want to look at storage devices, right? So we went from moving from input to processing. Now we're looking at storage devices. So storage devices stores information, right? Two categories would be our primary storage and our secondary storage. So storage devices can fall under primary storage and secondary storage. So our primary storage is called main memory, which is the main memory for that system. Or we could refer to that main memory as our random access memory. In short, we call it RAM. So RAM refers to random access memory. So primary storage, also called our main memory or our random access memory. So this random access memory or our primary storage basically stores data that is currently being used by the central processing unit. As we said earlier on, that the central processing unit processes all data. So all of that data would then need to be stored temporarily in what we call our random access memory. So let us put it together. Say I am watching a YouTube video on my computer. That YouTube video is temporarily stored in your random access memory because that video is currently being used by your what? CPU. So the CPU is processing all that information and giving it to you so you can see it. So all of that data must go to your primary storage, or we refer to as your RAM memory, right? So the RAM memory stores all your data temporary. So temporary meaning that if you turn off your phone or the electricity goes, all of that information would then be lost. So you would not be able to just go back and see the video stored on your system. You would have to start all over that process again, right? So a part of your primary storage, we have another type of memory which we call our read-only memory. In short, we call it ROM, R-O-M. So your read-only memory stores data for your BIOS. So we call this BIOS for short, which represents our basic input-output systems. So we would look at our BIOS as our input-output system, right? So all that information would be stored on your RAM, R-O-M, while the information that is currently being used by your central processing unit would then be stored on our RAM chip. So this is your main memory, or we call them memory chip for your computer system. Some laptops would use half the size of this. So this would have been a little example of what we call our ROM, read-only chip. So this chip is embedded on the board, and it is going to store data for your basic input and output systems. And we had mentioned input devices. So what we are saying is that this read-only memory will check if you have input device connect or you have output devices connected, so we can start the process of getting to where you want to go in terms of your data. So we look at primary storage as being your main memory, otherwise called RAM, and read-only memory. So the read-only memory would now be classified as a permanent storage. So the permanent storage here for this ROM chip, because this is going to store all the information that you will need for booting up process of your system. That data would have to be permanently stored there. While for the random access memory, that memory would be temporary on that system. So we want to look now on what are our secondary storage devices that we can use in our system. So our secondary storage media basically stores all your data for future use. So it is going to store all your data for future, for a very long time. So we are going to categorize the different types of storage medias that are out there. We can have devices falling under magnetic. We have devices falling under optical. And we have devices that we consider neither optical nor magnetic. So let us first start off with our magnetic storage device. And the first one is our popular hard drive device. So this would be our hard drive device, which is made up of some disk inside, and the disk material is of a magnetic type. So our first one would have been our hard drive. So our hard drives that we have out there is made up of a magnetic material, and this device is what we use to store our data for future use. So we can store a large amount of data on this device. Also, we have another type which we consider to be our floppy disk. We also have another one which we call our magnetic tape. So the magnetic tape is similar to what we call our first time cassette VCR record, right? So the magnetic tape is made up of magnetic material also. The floppy disk would be similar as a thin flat disk which we use to store a small amount of data. Then we have our optical media. Optical, as the first part says, optic, just like the eye or optic nerve, right? So anything that relates to eye, we normally use the term that we use lens. So devices that uses a lens, we know that would be a DVD player, a CD player, and so forth. So optical media would then refer to as our DVD, our CD. We can use our CD-ROM to store information, or our DVD-ROM. And we know ROM, which stands for read-only memory. Right? There are technologies that does not use any magnetic material, neither uses any lens to read or write the data. That's why we consider this optical media, because it uses lens to read the data or to write the data. Neither optical nor magnetic would then be our flash drive that we are using. What about your SD card that you are using in your phone or your devices at home? So we have SD card. And we now could facilitate this new type of hard drive. So we have a new type of hard drive that is not of a magnetic type. So we could consider that a solid state. Solid state drive. So in short, you will see SSD, which stands for solid state. So that is the new technology that is out there now. So if you're buying a new computer or a new laptop, you will see them referring to this new hard drive as SSD, which refers to a solid state drive. So the advantage of these types of devices is that it has a quicker access time. So if I want to access data on my device, I can access it faster on this media. If I want to access data on my DVD or CD, I have to wait until the drive start to spin and start to read at certain RPM before I can access. So the access time is going to be a little bit slower, just the same way with our hard drive or magnetic tape. It is dependent on rotation. It has to spin or reach certain RPM before data can be read. So the advantage of these devices is quicker access time for these. You can access data quickly. So even though we have a new hard drive over here, access time is going to be faster than our regular hard drive. And this regular hard drive can either be a SATA type, and our old type, which is now an old type of hard drive, but still being in use. So the new type is better when you are looking at your SSD drive. So we have secondary storage media in these three categories: magnetic storage, optical storage, neither any of these. And we will discuss which one has more capacity. So what we are saying here is that our hard drive will hold more data than a floppy disk, than a magnetic tape, than a CD, than a flash drive. And remember we said that the solid state and the hard drive have the same capability in terms of storage. So we could then say that the largest capacity in this group would have been the hard drive. The floppy disk will have the smallest capacity, and its capacity would then fall down to probably about 1.44 MB. So we would discuss the DVD to go up to about 4.7 gigabyte. A natural CD size would be around 700 megabyte. So we kind of see where we're starting to fall off in terms of size. And we know about flash drives going up into gigabytes, 16 gig, 64 gig, etc. and so on. So all of these devices use to store data for future use, and it is best when determining which one has the faster capability for your purpose. So we are going to look at what is considered now output and output devices.